Been with cows and fish for 2 years, riparian specialist out of Lethbridge. Today she's going to give us a program update and a little bit of a review of cows and fish and what the projects are going on. And fish. Thank you very much.
Should I? Or do you go there? Yeah, if you wanted to sit there, that's. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm running it off my screen. Okay. And I'll just advance when you advance.
Sounds good. Okay. Yeah, so hi, I'm Emily, and yeah, this is just going to be a little program update on what Cows and Fish is up to. Some of this might be kind of recap, but I'll do it anyways. Oh, that's weird. It doesn't progress on this screen, but it does back there. That's okay. Yeah, so I'll just kind of start off with our mission statement, which is to promote healthy landscapes by fostering riparian stewardship. And this is kind of, yeah, this is our mission, what kind of drives our work, and recognizing that riparian areas are those areas that connect land with aquatic environments, and also the areas that bring people together to work on riparian stewardship initiatives. Oh.
Is it stuck?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Okay, sweet. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, mission statement, check. On to key principles. So one of our key principles is that better riparian health starts with basic awareness and education. So at Cows and Fish, we do a lot of focus on awareness and education. This kind of ties into the overall Cows and Fish process, which is the process by which we kind of approach every project and try and follow this process. We've seen it be successful. So yeah, so a lot of the times it starts with basic awareness and education, followed by team building, so bringing together all these involved parties that yeah, might be involved in a particular project, and just building those connections. Tool building, so hosting workshops, kind of like train the trainer events, and just equipping people with the tools that they might need to understand riparian health or plant identification or whatever it may be. Then community-based action, so this is like the more on the ground piece of like doing projects on the ground or gathering communities together to take action. And then followed by monitoring, which is, as it sounds, just kind of checking in, seeing if the things that we implemented worked, or if things need to be tweaked, and kind of learning from the work that we do to apply to future projects. So this is obviously review for probably everybody here, but what is a riparian area? We all know and love her. Riparian areas are the green zone between the upland and aquatic environments, of course, defined by water, and then vegetation and soils that are influenced by water. Probably the more important question, which is also definitely review for everybody here, but why do we care about having healthy riparian areas? And of course, the reason being that when riparian areas are healthy, it means they're functioning, and if they're functioning, they're able to provide these like plentiful ecosystem services that are really like economically and ecologically vital. So, and I'll kind of go through what like a couple of those ecosystem services, and again, I know that's review, But I just wanted to touch on some because it kind of underpins the driving forces for why we're doing, like why some of the work that we're doing or some of the projects that we're doing is a lot of it ties back to reintroducing these ecosystem services and functioning riparian areas. So one valuable ecological function is that a healthy riparian area will dissipate energy from the water. So in a stream, for example, if it has all the meanders it's supposed to, and there's that woody riparian vegetation and vegetation structure, it can help to slow the water down and just dissipate energy throughout the water course. So that can prevent erosion throughout the water course. It can also reduce flooding downstream. So that's one of our services. Another one is water storage. As someone who started with cows and fish in May of 2021, this is like pretty much like the primary #1 thing I hear from every producer I've worked with, which is their goal is to keep more water on the landscape for longer. And so having a healthy riparian area can definitely help with this, particularly when there's like deep-rooted plants present during the spring runoffs, which is kind of like I really want to point, but on the whatever that side. Yeah, during the spring runoffs, when there's excess water, having healthy riparian areas, lots of woody deep-rooted vegetation can help to store that water in the ground, and then that can recharge into our water courses later in the season when it's drier. In an unhealthy situation, which is that side, that's less likely to happen, and you're more likely to see those areas dry up because the water isn't stored. It kind of just passes through the channel. Another important function is water filtration. So riparian plants help to trap and store sediment and nutrients that are present in the water. Beaver dams are pretty important for water filtration as well, which is why Cows and Fish has we really advocate for beaver coexistence and beavers on the landscape. And then also biodiversity. So 80% of fish and wildlife in Alberta depend on riparian areas, which themselves are like 2 to 5% of the landscape. So really small portion of the landscape supports a massive amount of biodiversity, including species at risk. They also have very high primary productivity. So like in a ranching scenario, it's also super useful. So very productive, diverse parts of our landscape. And so yeah, here's just a little summary of a number of functions that riparian areas will do, with basically like the underpinning message is that riparian areas are too valuable to go unrecognized and unmanaged. And this is, of course, one of the reasons why Cows and Fish focuses on riparian areas, promoting education on them and trying to improve or maintain riparian health. Something else that's also super useful is looking back at some historic imagery. So this is an old railway bridge that was over the Battle River. But basically the important part is to focus on the riparian areas. So in the older photo from the 1920s, you can see that there is lots of like woody vegetation and different vegetation structure. And those native plants are present, whereas in the more recent photo from 2000, that is completely missing. And so another reason why Cows and Fish focuses on riparian areas is that we know that there is historic and current loss and degradation of riparian areas. And so obviously it's important to continue promoting riparian health and education. And the other thing we know is that landowner and land user decisions and actions determine riparian health and the provisioning of ecosystem services. So also a lot of our work focuses, of course, on working with like producers or really anybody who lives or works or plays in riparian areas to, again, promote that education. And because we know that their actions on the landscape, however small or large, have an impact. Okay, so now that's kind of the Cows and Fish recap section, and now we're going to move into what we've been up to. So one of the ways that we ascertain what riparian health is and put some kind of quantifiable value on it is through our beloved riparian health inventories, which are where we will assess the vegetative characteristics of a riparian area and then the physical characteristics, which cumulatively come together to come up with an overall health score, which is then put into one of 3 categories. And these are associated with the function of the riparian area. So healthy being that there's little to no impairment to riparian functions, healthy but with problems being the kind of middle ground of some impairment, and then unhealthy being that there's pretty significant impairment to riparian functions. And so as always, we've been pretty busy with our riparian health inventories across, I want to say across the province, but this is literally only like half the province, but like from Beaver Lodge to Milk River and beyond. And we do about like 175 to 200 sites per year. So typically our amazing field crew will go out and collect this riparian health data in the summer, and then it's assessed and written up in the winter. And we do this to, first of all, provide a baseline for riparian health throughout the province, but also to inform management changes that might need to be done. So doing those assessments and picking out pieces of riparian health, and maybe it's the amount of bare ground, or maybe we saw a bit of channel incisement, or yeah, just picking out those pieces to help inform management changes, and then see if there is, if you know, a management change was done, we can see if there was some kind of positive effect. So here's a, you might have seen this already, but it's a provincial health summary from 1996 to 2021 of all the riparian health data that we collected. And so the overall health of riparian areas in the province was 69%, which falls into that middle ground healthy but with problems category, whereas the remaining 2 quarters fall into either healthy or unhealthy. What I think is kind of almost more interesting is this comparison. So about 600 sites throughout that time period were exact revisits. And so they did a comparison of riparian health from the initial visit to the revisit. And basically the overall message is that riparian health is improving, at least in the sites that we've had some kind of interaction with. So a reduction in sites that score as unhealthy, and then an increase in sites that score as either healthy or healthy but with problems. So in general, an increase in health. Something else that we've been involved in, and this is more kind of like mountainy foothills region, but I did want to touch on it because Cows and Fish has been pretty busy with this, but we've been involved in the Native Trout Collaborative, which is essentially a big collaborative effort of several organizations and government involved in native trout work, with the idea that together we can like set priorities and share resources and information, and try to together tackle this really complex problem of native trout recovery. And so, of course, Cows and Fish has been pretty involved in the riparian health side of things, since that is part of native trout critical habitat. And so part of this work, we've done quite a bit of restoration and soil bioengineering work. So a lot of this has to do with like decompacting soil. So the photo at the bottom is some rough and loose soil decompaction, and then reestablishing woody species. So some willow planting or shrub planting, with essentially the goal of reestablishing some of those woody plants, reclaiming some bare soil maybe, or doing whatever restoration is necessary to try and reinstate some of those riparian functions over time. And we also have some pretty cool extension materials, which I brought with me. So if you want some cool trout stickers, let me know. But yeah, here's a showcase of them. Something else that we've been involved in is working with beavers. So Carrie O'Shaughnessy is our resident beaver expert up in Edmonton. But yes, we've done a couple of workshops about beavers, beaver life history, coexistence, that kind of thing, as well as actually implementing some beaver coexistence techniques on the ground. So the photo at the top is a pond leveler, which can be used to mitigate issues with flooding due to beaver ponds. And then at the bottom is a little exclusion fence, which can be used to exclude beavers from culverts or bridges or whatever they happen to be plugging up. So we love beavers like cows and fish. I think this is a pretty, for me, it's a very exciting like frontier of our work. Because like I said earlier, beaver dams can have a lot of similar functions to healthy riparian areas, and they're pretty essential for the watershed. We've also been doing some work with beaver dam analogs and implementing some beaver dam analogs. And so we've been using these to mimic some of the functions of natural beaver dams. So functions like water storage and energy dissipation. So by having these like speed bumps almost in a water course, it can help to slow down the water. Yes, and by it slowing down, it can help to recharge aquifers. Why am I blanking? Yeah, again, like dissipate energy. It can actually help to expand the riparian area. And probably one of the things they're best known for is healing channel incisement. So by slowing down the water, if a channel is really incised, right, and if the water slowed down, sediment can come and settle down to the bottom and actually heal that channel and get it to more of a natural state. And yeah, ideally they'll be able to keep more water, better water on the ground for longer, which is a huge draw for, well, ideally a huge draw for a lot of people, but we're still in the process of figuring these things out. So these are some photos from last fall. So in collaboration with Flood Tribe Land Management and the Mistaki Institute, we were able to install several of these beaver dam analogs. And so here's some photos from that. So this was a pretty, like, I personally, and cows and fish in general, was extremely grateful for being able to do these. And, you know, we read a lot about them, but actually being able to install them on the ground and all the knowledge that comes with that was like pretty cool. So yeah, there's me working very hard, hauling some stuff into a wheelbarrow. There was also lots of pictures of me just like standing around, but unfortunately those did not make the cut for the presentation. So this is what you get. But yeah, you can kind of see the general layout of it, like 2 rows of untreated posts infilled in the middle, and then on the sides it's woven with many willows, kind of like a basket weaving situation. And then that on the bottom there is kind of the mattress of willows, and then on the front it's armored with some rocks and other debris. And yeah, we did cut the posts off at the end so it didn't look so like treacherous, but that's kind of the general setup. So ideally during spring runoffs, this will help trap that water on the landscape and help to heal both the channel and the riparian area. So stay tuned. They were, yeah. We were able to put 3 in, but I'm happy to talk about this for hours, so hit me up. Okay, also, this is another project near and dear to my heart, but this is the Species at Risk Partnerships on Agricultural Lands, or SARPAL project. So this is a grant from ECCC that was provided to us, and now several groups are delivering this grant. And so basically this is, the SARPAL grant is to target sage-grouse critical habitat, and cows and fish is focusing on the riparian areas within that critical habitat. So basically throughout this whole area, I've been spending tons of time. And this is just, the sage-grouse is pretty cool because it uses both the upland during most of the summer, and then typically later in the season, it'll move into the riparian areas and start to use those habitats. And so it is, I mean, in many ways, it's an umbrella species. It's almost a species that connects like a riparian area. This is a beautiful analogy, but it connects the upland with the riparian area because it utilizes both habitats. So pretty neat bird. And yeah, here's some photos of some work we've been doing in that area. So some native grass seeding to help recover some bare soil, off-site watering to help distribute cattle from riparian areas, some wildlife friendly fencing. There's me again in the field wearing the same outfit every time. And yeah, kind of a bring your own shade situation out there. And then also I included a picture of yucca just to highlight, it's another species at risk, but just to highlight that, yes, the grant is targeted on sage grouse, but there's like a laundry list of species at risk and other wildlife or plants that rely on that dry mixed grass area. And so by benefiting habitat, it reaches, of course, way farther than just sage grouse. Okay, next I wanted to highlight our follow-up project. I'm not taking the lead on this per se, but basically this is just to touch base. This project, the goal is to touch base with people we've worked with in the past and kind of gather some of those stories and information and learnings from like management changes or work that they might have done, and just to kind of collect those stories. And I can put you in touch with Jen, who is another riparian specialist who's more involved in this. We're also doing work within the city of Calgary. So our own Catherine Hall is has like led this project. But yeah, we've been doing some riparian health monitoring and bioengineering work throughout the city of Calgary. And yeah, I want to highlight with this that yes, we work a lot on ranches or agricultural areas, but Cows and Fish always says like we'll go where we're invited. So that's urban areas or wherever. We do work, like I said, anywhere where people live, work, or play in riparian areas. We've also been doing a lot of extension and outreach as usual. That kind of fits into our Cows and Fish process. But yeah, here's just some examples of education outreach events that we've done, setting up booths and talking to people casually and kind of spreading that riparian health message and some of our Cows and Fish messaging. We also do field days and workshops. Of course, there's like the Southern Alberta Grazing School for Women and the Alberta Range Stewardship course that Cows and Fish is involved in, and those are kind of more set events. But we also do field days, basically, again, like wherever we're invited or wherever they're needed. We'll do field days on riparian and range stewardship, plant identification, how to do health assessments. Yeah, really wherever they're needed, we're invited to go. We'll hopefully make something work. And then just a quick tech update. So we have launched a riparian health assessment app, which is an app, yeah, basically to be able to do those rapid riparian health assessments right on your phone. So the app is currently live. And I think the next step is to come up with some kind of like decision-making matrix for based on the score you get and other information. I'm not too sure, but stay tuned for this. I know the app is currently live, so you can check it out. That's something that's cooking. And we launched a new website, so check that out. And we are in the midst of a Cows and Fish rebrand. So new logo, new everything. So yeah, so our communications coordinator, Logan Peters, has been working extremely hard to get this off the ground, and she's done some pretty awesome work. But yeah, anyone who's ever tried to work with the Cows and Fish logo somewhere in like a presentation or poster, it's beautiful. I love it, but I feel for you. So horizontal logos are coming. And also celebrating 30 years. So some people were talking about the Cows and Fish Gala that was held in Edmonton. So that was one of the events we did, but there's our pretty awesome cake. Also has a cow and a beaver on it and like watercolor stuff. It was almost too beautiful to eat, but also it was delicious. But yeah, so again, stay tuned, follow our social media or the newsletter, and hope maybe other events will be coming up. I've heard little whispers, so that, and yeah, that's pretty much it for what we've been up to update. This is just an acknowledgement of some of our members and supporters, not necessarily related to funding, and this is missing like a ton of groups that we work with, but just in recognition that all the work that we do is heavily reliant on our partners and collaborations. Then yeah, there's my contact info again, or come contact me for stickers and a business card if you want. And yeah, that's all. Any questions? Yes, Liz Saunders. So those are some of the, yeah, I think those are like pretty original. Like they were done back in like when Cows and Fish started. Yeah, they're stunning.
A really quick question: what's the cost roughly of those beaver dam networks?
I'll get back to you on that. Yeah, I didn't coordinate putting them in, so I don't know that side of things, but yes. Okay, I think it varies quite a lot, and Alvin can maybe touch on this too, but it depends. So for those particular sites, everything was hauled in, like parked on the road, and then we walked everything in wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow, bucket by bucket. So in that case, it can take a lot longer. There are sites that like Trout Unlimited has done where they're right adjacent to a road. That helps. So yeah, and I can definitely get back to you because we wrote down even data on like number of logs used, number of buckets of mulch used, like, so yeah, but it took us, I think we're out there for like 3 days and we did three in that water course. But again, we were hauling stuff in. Oh my gosh. It was like, we swapped it out like a couple days, and like you will get super jacked if you do this all the time. It's like a really big workout. But like, gosh, maybe like, I don't know, 10 per day. And then right at like the 11th hour, this school bus of like high school students came and just like absolutely saved the day and went to town on the last one. So that really helped. So it is quite like manpower intensive.
But they do take volunteers. Anybody that wants hands-on experience, volunteers welcome.
Yeah, I think that especially with those, like given all the water storage and water retention, like issues that people have been having, I feel like, and I'm super biased, I live in like this beaver echo chamber, but like I feel like we're on the brink of these really catching on and people implementing them more widespread, like especially in those really dry areas, the dry mixed grass areas. We could get one in like sage grouse critical habitat, that'd be amazing, because I think that they would have such an excellent benefit for water retention and improving the health of riparian areas.
So Emily, over the last 30 years, I've seen a hell of a lot of housing dish presentations. That was a really nice one, so thank you.
Thanks.
But what really caught my attention was a couple of things I hadn't seen previously that I think are really important. One was the bar graph trend line of the three conditions. So responses will change over time. And the other was the picture that happened long-term company on the banks of the world. Those things, you know, a picture tells 1,000 words. And one of the most difficult things to grasp, particularly when you're dealing with something like this, where an intervention and response in the environmental condition doesn't occur immediately. So changing condition over space and time in response to anthropogenic influence, if you've got a series of images that illustrate that out there, it's really important. So you're dealing with everything from interventions on a stretch of a creek where you operated in the early years, and 30 years later, this is what it looks like, to those constructed interventions like on the bank or the beaver stuff, where you'll see a response much quicker, obviously. But those images, whether it's communicating to a lay audience or to funders or anything else, to say that our organization actually does make a difference to environmental condition. And here it is, you know, in a series of pictures that are posted on your website or on a short video or something like that. It really is powerful, because for years we were just talking about the tool, the assessment, the number of things that we've done without being able to actually illustrate what our presence is.
Yeah, it's impactful for sure. We had like a viral tweet. a viral tweet like on Twitter lately. That was a comparison of it was like a pre and post management change from a landowner, and a picture says 1,000 words. Like it really showed the impact of that management change on that wetland. And but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You get involved for the first time, establishing where your control points are going to be to take those pictures would be really good.
Yeah.
Thinking ahead.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, Sorry, I don't have the power here.
Emily, question on the, like, so on those analog dams at the pond leveling,
Mhm.
does any of that work require water lines of some kind, or how does that work? If I was building
Yes.
a very deep channels.
So I'm not too sure about the pond leveler. Carrie would be the person to contact for that. I know like with the Beaver Dam analogs, there's a whole series of permitting and whatnot that we tend to trip over to get those things installed. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that actually.
The other issue, there are beaver dams and the creeks that people want to get rid of.
Mhm.
Pond level. Yeah, but we run into problems where, in case like, wasn't a beaver dam, it's just well for access flow, backing up water. Downstream users and then when we ask the company to put a culvert into that, they can say, well, the DFO
Right.
on, so they just say we can't do it. But just work on those cases that we run into there.
Yeah, I'll touch base with Carrie, and I think they might have written up a document on like legislative, like whatever approvals and whatnot for those types of projects. But I'll up with you.
The those that you use in the Beaver Dam analog,
Mhm.
are those alive, like we just said,
I think that they could. Yeah, I think they probably will actually, but they were, like, I guess that's not the intent. I think they're more for like a structural weave.
using the things on the site.
Yeah, and so that for that particular case, we got them from elsewhere and brought them into the site because there was hardly any willows. And yeah, I think it's like there's definitely potential for that to happen, and I think that is probably like in part of the design, but I think it's like mostly for structural purposes.
Okay, any more questions? Thank you very much. Susan, back up. Who's here?
It's here, it's just in the lobby.
In the lobby. You
Yeah.
go downstairs?
No, right, it's just-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we'll meet first and then we'll have the board come out after you grab the quick fight. We'll have a 5-minute meeting, figure out who's going to be executive. Okay. All right. Thank you.